What's up, guys? So there is a couple hands-on like preview videos I want to check out for Monster Hunter Wilds. One by Maximilian Dude, who is very highly regarded and respected for his opinion on a lot of these type of like games. I know he's mostly known for fighting game content, but he does play other games with like RPGs and others alike. So I do value his opinion when it comes to like games like Monster Hunter Wilds. There's also Easy Allies, who also got a hands-on like preview video, found a preview video up. So we're gonna check out both those videos, kind of get their thoughts and feelings on where Wilds is at. Not too long ago, IGN had their final preview video, and I made a video about that, like as far as new details that came out of that. So I'm interested to see what possible new details we can get from both Maximilian Dude and Easy Allies. So let's check it out.
What's up, dudes? Max here. So, had another unique opportunity over the past few days and a little while. We have some impressions of what is near the final build of Monster Hunter Wilds, and this is thanks to Capcom for setting up a preview event where we got the chance to play this. This also comes in tandem with some impressions recently because we knew the beta was going to be happening, and I wanted to get my overall takes of what went down in the beta, the latest one, and sort of compare that to what the final game is. I also just want to cover what I want to talk about in this, how weapons feel, how the environments feel, how the story feels, and also how the performance was. And as a reminder,
that's why I'm really concerned about the performance.
Version. So I did get a couple of opportunities to record the the quote-unquote graphics mode and performance mode. There was not a PS5 Pro, so I'll try to do a little bit of that just to show you guys the differences. Because
so just so you guys know, my feeling and thoughts is, and a lot of people think this too, like this game, while it's going to be coming out on PS5, PC, and Xbox, like Series X one up, it feels like this is mostly going to be played on PlayStation. I think that's how it was with World. So, and it has crossplay. So who knows? Who knows? And we might be surprised, and maybe it's mostly played on PC versus console, but we don't know the console numbers usually. We only know Steam numbers, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's important that what he's gonna be talking about as far as like story, performance, and stuff like that. I'm more concerned about performance because I want to compare performance of this game, PC versus like console. So hopefully he has some good insight on this. He usually does, though.
Because there's good news there. There's actually extremely good news. So let's get into what is arguably the most important thing about Monster Hunter Wilds that the devs are presenting to us, and it's story, or it's like campaign mode. And yeah, we've played like a healthy amount of these between Iceborne, Monster Hunter World, between Rise and Sunbreak and stuff like that. Didn't do absolutely everything in Sunbreak, but we got a pretty good idea of how the story works in these games, and it kind of just gives you a little bit of guidance from point A to point B, introduce new monsters, big bad monster, yada, yada, yada. That is not all too different in Monster Hunter Wilds. However, the story experience, and I'm like sort of reluctant to call it a story because it's very like, I'd say bare bones is a story. It's setting up something that has characters, and these characters have objectives, but that has about as much story as the previous Monster Hunter games do.
That's interesting because from what the devs have talked about, or from what even Max has said before, and I think a few other sources have said, like Monster Hunter Wild seems to be a bit more story narrative driven. And for him to say that it feels like kind of the same, basically, or similar to, how it's been in previous games is kind of like, it's not necessarily off-putting to me. It's just like, dang, because I could have sworn even the Capcom devs like sort of like expressed that, yeah, we're trying to be a bit more story focused with this Monster Hunter game. But if it's just the same as the other ones, then it's like, wow, okay, did they drop the ball on that? I don't know.
But in this case, they are working their butt off to sort of make this as easygoing for new players as possible.
Gotcha.
The way they're introducing mechanics, the way they're introducing new elements to the player, how frequently that stuff happens is at a very slow pace. And it's trying to get you familiar to all of Monster Hunter systems, which is kind of surprising to me. They're really going for like, okay, there's going to be a whole bunch of new players that are playing this compared to World or Rise, and we're going to make this starting experience of their campaign really help ease those new players in and understand how everything works. because that is how it goes, man. And yeah, if you're like, you know, somewhat experienced and have been playing these games since Monster Hunter Worlds, you kind of want things to sort of kick into gear. But I do appreciate some stuff that they do here, and it's a bit different than the previous games where they try to handhold the player in this campaign through several different portions that are level based. So it's like, okay, you get new abilities, you get new gear, you get new skills. Here's how you use that stuff. Here's how you utilize these things. They show you the button presses for all of this stuff going through it. You got a little bit of a taste of that, you know, in the beta like single player campaign demo. But it really goes much further beyond that here. For an example, if you get to a new area and you have like all this strife and bad weather and all this funky stuff is happening, and you eventually like clear a big thing. I'm trying to remain relatively spoiler free with what happens. But you clear a big thing and a big fight is done, and all of a sudden, pretty much the clouds go away, and all of the bad weather goes away. At that point, the game shows you, okay, so here's like how the environments are, how they go from, you know, a lot of different weather effects and changes live and active, and here's what it's like when it's nice and cool and pretty in daytime. And when it's pretty in daytime, there's like a funny moment that has happened in 2 zones where the hunter sort of goes on like a quest with Alma, which is your quest giver, and you have to go to a place, right? And what you'll do is you'll sort of just like survey the area, and it's like a slow walk section where we're just gonna look and check out all the things that are here now. So check out this, look at this, let's walk around and talk about that. There's kind of like these little vibes moments that happen with the environments that take you from point A to point B before you have to like, you know, kick in the next hunt or move to the next area.
So what that gives me vibes of is like, we're on this like safari, you know, because it's kind of like a similar experience to that is what they're doing in video game form here. But with him saying that, it feels like the devs are trying to take us on this like kind of Monster Hunter like safari. Like we're going to show like with the slowness like Jesus talked about, where they slow you down to look at this monster, look over here. It's like that as you're just slowly going through the lands. Like that's kind of cool, honestly, to be real, because heck, you know, it's a lot safer than probably going on an actual safari if you think about it. But hey, cool stuff.
But all things considered, we played the first like 3 hours of the game. I do think that there is some really cool cinematic stuff that happens in this story mode, but the story itself is like everything that they are setting up for it is like kind of like straightforward and very Monster Hunter-y, you know? I think the extra effort that they're putting into probably, which feels like this is going to be a very girthy campaign, is felt, and it feels like this is going to be something that is going to go on for quite a while, and the way rate they're introducing these monsters feels pretty paced out. So I like that. I think that's a good idea.
I hope so. Based on what he's talking, darn it, the mic didn't mean to. Based on what he's talking about, with he feels it's going to be a girthy campaign. I sincerely hope so, because I want the campaign, the base campaign, to be longer than World. Like base and Rise. I want this to be longer than World and Rise's base campaigns. Honestly, like let's have some more fun with it before we get to like, you know, future updates and like free content. And even though I know like a week later or so they're gonna drop like a limited event thing of free content to hunt like a Rathalos or whatever the heck, and you get like, you know, special gear and armor from it. But still, yeah, like I'm looking forward to this being like the probably biggest Monster Hunter game overall to date. Meaning like longer campaign story, more stuff to do, more hunts. Obviously we got some added new mechanics and features as well. So definitely looking forward to it. This is really shaping up to really be cool and be an awesome game.
Idea, but at times I'm kind of like, man, I wish I can just kick it into gear and go whoop some ass, you know what I mean? I guess that's just, you know, the Monster Hunter nature in me after playing these games for so long. But I do have to say, outside of like some story mode sequences have like sort of generic characters talking to each other, and it looks okay, kind of has like your in-game character model going on there with the other characters' in-game character models, but then it goes into cutscenes, and the cutscenes are just gorgeous, dude. Like the lighting on the cutscenes, the quality of the lighting, the environment lighting, like all that.
Let me double check this. I don't know if I did.
Absolutely beautiful. Okay. And there's some shots in here. Granted, I was playing it on like mostly graphics mode when I was doing the story mode. Are just mind-blowing how good they look. Just absolutely mind-blowing. I'll use a couple of examples when they really get crazy with the lighting in some of these situations, but man, like if there's parts where I have had concerns because I might not have liked the way everything we've seen of Wild so far compared to World, just on like an artistic level, there are some moments in these cutscenes and these fights that are just absolutely gorgeous. And
this is awesome. Really, yeah, I can see. In terms of, like, holy hell, this is pretty, dude.
As far as what the RE engine can do, and running pretty damn well on a PS5. This build of the game, I can say, if we're going to talk about a performance mode situation to a graphics mode situation, dude, this was running night and day better than the last time I played this, which was around, I think, September-ish. It was around fall of last year.
Okay.
So that was a much different build of the game, and kind of what we're playing in the beta right now. So that's very good news. It does feel like the launch version of the game, at least on base PS5, is going to be a lot better than it was from those early impressions we saw a few months ago. So yeah, it was rough performance-wise before, and I think we should be pretty good now.
Awesome,
but just
awesome, okay.
So, like, here's an example of some of the footage we've been seeing already from the story modes in 30. Here's some hunts that kind of go down that are running in 60 in the proper performance mode. So you can get a decent idea of, like, yeah, it has a little bit less visual, acuity. It doesn't have all the super sharp edges of, like, a 4K image. But it's doing a pretty decent job, and it doesn't feel like it's, like, absurdly low like some other games in this generation might have been, much less the previous time we actually played this game or the beta, in performance mode. So that's very good news. Other than that, I do think that the weapons, while not being able to have a ton of time to go through every single weapon, every single change, do feel quite good. So whatever minor differences have changed between hit stun values or things like that within the final build or near final build of the game.
Just a quick thought. I've been watching Max play Monster Hunter Wilds betas like that. I'm watching with his coverage here, and he is a gun lance main, or that's one of his weapons he loves to play as. And I'm not necessarily a big fan of lance or gun lance, but man, seeing him played in Wilds though is encouraging me to want to give gun lance a shot. And I may just play Gunlance as part of Wilds. Might as well, check it out, see if I like it. Never actually give it a shot. It just didn't look all that fun to me initially. But man, the way it's looking in Wilds, the way Max and other people have made it look, it's just, now I kind of want to try it. Same with Bow. Bow looks like a lot of fun in Wilds now compared to previous games. So that's another one I think I'm going to try out for the first time ever. Anyway, let's get back to it.
Are absolutely felt where things just feel good. Like landing hits, there were some problems early on in those early betas, the 3 month ago beta, where things just felt not weighty at all. And that does not feel like it's the case now. So all I can tell you is that it's hard to pinpoint every single nook and cranny and detail of what's going down with the combat, but the combat feels sound, it feels precise. Even some of the latest betas do feel really good with how things are going right now. So yes, the final version of the game, I can sort of echo that. Feels good, man. I'm not concerned with the way weapons feel. And they're going to be balanced, but I didn't get the change. I did not get to adjust myself to insect glaive because I don't know how that works. I wanted to see if the bounce, but all things considered, I kind of stuck with what works because we had such a limited period of time. Outside of that,
which makes sense.
A Monster Hunter preview event without some multiplayer hunts, and yes, we did get to hunt a couple of monsters in multiplayer. And funny enough, I'll throw some footage of both of these fights that are up here. Some somewhat nondescript monsters that I really can't, remember what they were outside of being relatively new and kind of gross enemies. Things that are very different outside of the traditional Monster Hunter world style monsters, which are mostly dragons. These are very different, and I do get the vibe overall from Monster Hunter Wilds that they're going for a different feel and different approach for the quote-unquote monsters of the game, and these hunts are kind of a good example of that. So obviously one's like a spider that's similar to some of the stuff we might have had in Monster Hunter Rise, and this one is a weird goop monster, and I don't even know what the hell to make of this thing, dude. It's the only thing I can tell you is
it's basically like a mosquito.
So
it looks like a freaking mosquito.
This might just be an experience thing, right? As somebody that has played a few of these games, and they're kind of like riding a bike to me, where I come back and I'm like, whoa, how the hell do I play Monster Hunter? But after having 500 hours in Plus and World and hundreds in Rise, you come back and all of a sudden your hands just start adapting themselves to muscle memory from before.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Start kicking in.
Yeah.
So I will say the story mode's pretty breezy, and that's the whole point of low rank to high rank. I get it. but the story mode did feel relatively breezy. That you kind
hopefully
of
the story mode picks up though as you progress.
Start hopefully these monsters and making gear and all that kind of stuff, you know. But that can also be extended to the couple of hunts they gave us, because we were in a room of like mostly influencers and journalists that are just going to play this thing and give it a shot. And everyone's learning the new stuff in the game, and my god, dude, these monsters got absolutely wasted. Just wasted. And we sort of saw a similar thing kind of happening within the beta of the latest beta of Monster Hunter Wilds. Once you get sort of familiar a little bit with these things, people know what to do with their weapons now and know how to utilize those weapons and are using the Sacred for recovery and all that kind of stuff. It's like, man, these monsters are getting wailed on.
Oh, yeah.
So I am very curious to see where that goes, because obviously, like I said, low rank to high rank, all that stuff's going to be really important in the future.
Right.
But I'm very curious, like, where the difficulty spikes end up going down in Monster Hunter Wilds, because at least from like the three-ish hours of the hunts we had at the beginning of the game, it mostly felt like kind of like a breeze, like a sort of a walk in the park.
Ooh, he's saying it feels like a breeze, walk in the park. Oh no, that's not good to me. I mean, early on, yeah, okay, sure, have like, you know, a few hunts be fairly easy, not too challenging, right? But I'm hoping the challenge, the difficulty ramps up as you progress through the story, because I do not want, like, the thing that drew me in with Monster Hunter when I play World is like the majority of monsters, even from early like low ranks, felt like fun boss fights, like fun challenging boss fights to an extent, where they weren't necessarily super easy but not necessarily super challenging either, but still like a fun experience and good experience overall, solid. So I'm hoping they tune them appropriately even early on in the final version to where not super easy even for like veteran players. So I don't know, that's a little bit concerning to me a bit there, what he's talking about. So hopefully Capcom doesn't make it too easy, but we'll see.
For people that are adapted already to the Monster Hunter experience. But the good news is that, like I said earlier, for anybody that's new to this stuff, this seems like interesting to you, or you missed out on World, I don't know how you did, but if you did, then this would absolutely be a wonderful jumping in point. And it feels like every single newer Monster Hunter game, that's kind of the goal from Capcom, to create a new jump-in point. And
for sure,
more
definitely.
so than ever, there is bigger opportunities for that to be the case with Monster Hunter Wilds.
Okay.
Do have some criticisms, like, overall, but a very, very, very positive experience from the demo. And I do think I'm hoping for a lot more hunts later on that aren't in mostly like darkness. I think that's one of my biggest criticisms, is that a lot of the hunts that start are either in like bad weather or very dark areas. And because of that, I don't get to see like pretty stuff. And eventually things do open up to be like kind of pretty, but that was just the first opening area, like the Windward Plains, I think is what it's called. So that's my only criticism, is that I kind of want, like, man, when I got into Wildspire Wastes or some of these other zones in Monster Hunter World, they were just gorgeous, man. They just looked really good on the
for sure, yeah.
But
I get
they're
that.
trying to impress you with all of the crazy weather tech at the beginning and how chaotic all the weather can be between flooding and sandstorms and things like that, which was present in the 3-hour demo. Anyway, thank you, dudes. I'll be back. Of course, Monster Hunter Wilds is right around the corner.
All right, so that's what he had to say. So that's very good positive news from Maximilian Dude. Shouts out to Maximilian Dude for making this video. We got to check it out, give better ideas as far as like how the final version of Monster Hunter Wilds is going to actually play and be. So it seems like it's good performance-wise. They fixed, I guess, a lot of issues. And I did do the PC benchmark recently, which the only way I was able to get that to work really well for the most part overall for me on my current rig is using FrameGen. And there was still certain parts though that was still like very laggy, low frames for some reason that they need to make sure they address, and hopefully there's a day one patch that does address that stuff. Story wise though, from what it sounds like, yeah, it's like at least the starting parts of the story not, you know, too interesting. Hopefully it opens up more and there's like better story narrative as you progress through Wilds. It sounds like the early parts just mean like tutorial and just kind of like getting players used to the new mechanics as well as the long time mechanics of the game or series itself. So have to wait and see. But let's see what Easy Ally says too. Let's see if they say anything similar or different than what Max has said.
Hello everybody, everybody. Welcome. We're Easy Allies. We're here to talk about Monster Hunter Wilds, baby.
Wilds.
I got to play it for, I don't know, like 5 or 6 hours.
So like 5 minutes in Monster Hunter time.
Yeah. Like 4 or 5 missions in. It's interesting because like mostly today I'm going to be talking about, broad stroke stuff. I'm not going to really talk about any story stuff.
Cool.
Right.
Better for you to experience that on your own. But new region, weather stuff, very cool. The weather effects are really cool. We'll get into it. Like mid-battle, like a sandstorm comes through or a flood comes through, and you're just like, oh, baby. Like, this
fun.
I mean, the TLDR is it's good. It's real good.
Okay.
You could have on your Secrete, the like chocobo, you can have a second weapon, so like you can swap weapons,
Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Riding. It takes getting used to because they kind of autopilot. You can steer them, but they walk where they want to go.
I'm
which,
cool with them autopiloting though.
But like the upside to that is, the monster's moving to another location. You hop on your Secrete. And you're just sharpening and healing and doing like demon powders and stuff while you're riding.
I love that.
So I can see why they did it like that.
I just realized with 2 weapons too, I'm already like itching to just like build my arsenal.
Yeah.
Because instead of like commit,
those
ingredients sometimes take a long time to like get really high up on the tiers. So if you're now having to make like 2 weapons, like oh my god.
It felt I was so conflicted, because like there are some of these monsters that I'll get into in a minute, but like the outfits were so good, and I'm like,
oh wow, yeah,
I'm putting in all this time.
Look at that.
And I was like thinking and like wish listing stuff, at a preview event in the equipment thing to be like, okay, I want to get 2 more parts of that from this crazy spider thing, so I can finish this thing. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm
can't keep any of this.
I can't keep any of this. Like, I'm gonna start a different save in 4 hours at the preview event and just lose all of this. But
right.
Anyways, so dang, it's it starts off it's story heavy as Monster Hunter goes. It's you're
front loaded.
It's front loaded, which is cozy and nice. And like there's a lot of stuff about like, very very broad strokes. There's a lot of stuff about like the indigenous people of the area and stuff like that. And it's really interesting stuff and a cool story.
Interesting take compared to Max's take when it comes to the story that they're talking about here, where they're saying it's front loaded. I mean, I guess Max was trying to like express that too. It's kind of front loaded, but it's like more like but he was saying it was hand holdy, and they're just trying to like mostly get you used to like the mechanics of the game, both new and like old mechanics. So interesting here, front loaded, a lot of stuff about I guess the indigenous people, I guess the people in this universe now. All right.
And then, of course, you're going on these hunts. And, like, it's structured, like kind of a tutorial hunt. And then, like, you'll go and do, like, research.
You were getting me so hyped. Oh, my
dude,
God.
it's so good. You'll go, like, standard, like, Monster Hunter World where you, like, then there's a quest where you're following tracks. And you're like, oh, there's a thing. Like, what's the thing?
So we still got to do investigations?
And blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
but
man.
the environments are so good. The vibes are so good.
Does it look better than the last time we saw it, you think, at all?
Yeah, I think it looks... playing it...
Because sometimes I notice that at previews, you'll see...
Real quick, like, something the world did that was kind of like a slog to do was like you would investigate a monster tracks first and then hunt it. And it sounds like they're bringing that back. And whereas in Rise, they took that away. Because Rise was like a game that was more about just getting into the fight quickly. It already had the monster on the map show up and things like that. And this is kind of, it seems like it's going back to the world type of way when it comes to that stuff. And it's like, ugh. So now you're making a bit of more of a slog in terms of like, you got to investigate tracks or whatever clues for the monster before you hunt it again. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm still going to play it. I'm still going to love this game, but it's like, man, I guess I was hoping they would at least either maybe not have that or maybe, I don't know, hopefully they make it a better experience this time around. Maybe you don't have to get as many tracks or clues and stuff like that as World. I don't know. We'll have to see.
See it like 6 months later and it's like,
oh
whoa,
yeah,
whoa.
It ran way better. Like
Nice.
The footage you're looking at is my footage. It was playing on graphics preference mode. I had the option to switch it, but nothing was really making me notice that it wasn't chugging really. Yeah. It wasn't bothering me. I'm a little less sensitive to it maybe than Huber is, but like at home I usually put things on performance unless it looks so grody.
Yeah.
But like, I kept it in graphics mode the whole time, and it seemed fine to me, and it looked really good. The human character models look really good. The food looks very good. Your character talks a lot more than in previous games, and there's voice acting and all that. The character designs are all really cool. Like I really like the way the characters look.
Oh wow, that armor.
Not just because they're all hot.
They
look kind of gay. Like not just because of that, but like they're all really neat.
The Palicos.
The Palicos look great.
Insane.
You meet some like other little like Lillifans, or what are they called? The whatever. You meet the like native little cat Palico guys, and they're hilarious.
That's awesome.
They're wonderful. Anyways, then there's the fights, and the fights are so cool. The main mechanic for this, because like in Rise you had the kind of like grappling stuff or whatever, the wire bug. In this, that's not there, but the weak points system.
Yeah, it sounds sick.
Is awesome.
I'm busting every monster's kneecaps.
Oh my god, yeah, dude.
Going kneecaps.
Dude, like, there was a point where I was fighting a spider. Maybe
I understand that. I get him. I'm like the same way. I want to be busting
so
their kneecaps too, and like breaking their legs and
shit.
shit.
A dress that like is white and then goes red, like it's like soaked in blood.
Dude.
And I'm like, oh my god. Like,
yes.
everything looks so goth and hot. Like, anyway. And the hat was like straight up like a Bloodborne tricorn. I was like,
You're like, they knew.
What?
The armor designers are snacking on this, man. They ate. But like, anyway, weak points, like on the spider, if there are places that you attack a lot, it'll start like to have, if you do focus mode, which is I think L1 or L2 maybe, and then it'll glow like kind of reddy orange. And you can stab it. I was using the insect glaive. I'm not sure how it is on the other weapons, but with the insect glaive, you stab it and then pull back and jump out and then like yank on it with a cable. And it's really awesome because it does a lot of like little stagger on the beast.
Yeah. That's
but also,
cool.
You'll often get like a material for doing it, for like breaking that part.
Really?
For like hitting the weak point.
Yeah.
So it really incentivizes
You want to do it.
hitting the weak
good.
points. But it also it hits it, huge HP hit, and you often get a material for it, and it makes it feel so rewarding.
Yeah.
And
what's the risk of doing it? Is there?
You just have to get in close to do it, and depending on your weapon, that may or may not be. Actually, I don't know. The bow, I assume, can do it from a distance, but I didn't try the bow in the preview event. I just stuck to the insect glaive.
Yeah.
I stuck with what I know, even though it's one of the more complicated weapons. But like, and so it's really rewarding, and it really encourages you to engage with it.
Right.
I found the wire bug stuff like maybe more complicated than it needed to be.
Okay.
Really?
Like once I got
there
was a learning curve, but once I got used to it, I was like, okay, sick, yeah. But like this is pretty immediately, you're like, okay, got it. And like everyone at the preview event, even people who'd never played Monster Hunter, were doing it.
Nice.
They were engaging with that system, and that I think for like the central like new gimmick or whatever, one of them for the game, I think that's a strong kind of a thing, an indication that they've kind of like they're refining Monster Hunter. Like it's not, it is iterative, but it also is like everyone, they're trying a new thing, and they're it's related to the kind of the area and all that stuff. So let's talk about the fights that I got into. Lalabarina was the one, the spider one. The story setup for it is really cool. I won't talk about that, but she is like a crazy spider with paralytic attacks.
Right.
Looks like a big rose. Like her back part can open up, and it's like a flower. And shoots like
that's why we saw the flower part then.
Everywhere. It is so
Rogue Legacy.
Awesome. And like can crawl on the ceiling, like real nasty too. Like the monsters in this like are kind of gross sometimes.
Cool.
Like obviously,
I feel like in Wilds and Iceborne.
Yeah, there it is,
the
flower.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Like most of them are like, I don't want to kill this thing. Some of them are like pretty gnarly. Like the Balahara's got some like kind of gross stuff going on. Congalala's just farting all over the place, like a big gorilla kind of thing. Deshaguma. It's interesting because there's VO, like constant VO.
Shaguma.
And so
I thought it was Doshaguma.
Well,
yeah,
I've always called it Doshaguma.
Huh.
And I'm like, oh, I guess it's Doshaguma.
There it is.
Oh.
It's like I've been saying that wrong.
Doshaguma. Okay.
It all led up to Uthduna. It was like one of those bigger monsters with a repel quest.
Ooh.
And it's cool because it you know, it really positions you in with these characters, and like they're all involved a lot, and so like the story seems like it's going to be kind of maybe a more present kind of element of the first half of the game.
Yeah, because Wild and Iceborne, the story wasn't bad, but it definitely felt like a vehicle for the hunts.
Yeah. And obviously this is that as well.
Yeah.
But like, it felt cool. Like a lot of the times, again, I'm not really trying to talk too much about the story, but like, there are parts where you're like riding in and you feel like kind of a hero because you're like
you feel like a badass. Probably.
For sure.
Look to the east at first light.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I feel like I could talk about it for a long time, but also, like, the brass tacks are just like, it's looking good, it's playing well.
Yep.
Good.
Like when we played it at Gamescom, it crashed a bunch, you know, and just in the intervening months, like it was solid as a rock. Like it felt great. Everything was running well. Like I didn't even really notice any issues really.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, again, I'm a little less sensitive to like frame rate dips and stuff than some people are, but like I didn't notice really any. Then again, I could be wrong on that, but it was seeming really good.
Did they hype up the the pro patch or anything?
They didn't talk about that. They didn't talk about that.
Oh, really?
I'm like interested to know like how many devs like are like so invested in that, if they take the time to talk about it or if it's just like an afterthought.
This was the I will say, not for any reason, but this was the first game that I was like, maybe I should get a pro.
Flex it
just
for a while.
Just like cause, you know, because it looked so good.
Yeah.
It was like the opposite reason. It wasn't.
I keep saying Wild is Worlds.
This is Wild.
This is Wild.
Worlds is the world is the old one. Just one world.
World. Yeah.
I believe Wilds is this one.
Yes.
Yeah. Rise was in between on Switch. Anyway, right? Rise.
Yep.
Whatever. Too many things are called Rise.
Yeah.
No, but like, it made me want a pro because it looked so good.
Yeah.
Not because it wasn't performing well, but because I was like,
the sand coming in.
Dude, like there was a part where I was like fighting against, I think it was the Balahara, maybe, or there was a Balahara, there was a Doshaguma falling into a quicksand thing, and there's like lightning and sandstorm happening and like the moonlight and like it was like epic. I was like this is like something out of Lord of the Rings or like a huge epic moment, you know.
Please best on IMAX.
Yeah, for real. I was like, this is sick as hell. And then later on there was a flood happening.
This looks so cool.
Is the areas, they feel different. Like when there's a flood happening, it just looked very different. Things were like really, really crazy.
Still very
and, like,
dark
these
though.
things,
what Max is talking about, very, very dark environments.
My impression is
the hunt
like,
in.
These were kind of started because it's early days. They were kind of started by a story cutscene,
Yeah.
But my impression is that this stuff can kind of just start happening during a fight. I'm not sure how completely accurate that is, but like the areas do shift.
That's cool.
And I'm curious to see like on a longer, full, when you're actually getting to play it, I'm wondering if it'll have an impact on your like strategy. If it like,
I hope it does.
I think the animals
honestly,
get a little more riled up. Maybe
that's cool.
Like if the changing weather or dynamic weather actually affects your strategy on how to take out a monster to some degree, whether it gives you a debuff or the monster a debuff or you a buff or the monster a buff, something like that, that could be really cool. Or something like that, or if it does something else along those lines, like as long as they make it bounce out and fun to engage in, that could be really awesome. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see, but man, that's pretty sick.
I'm curious to see what impacts the weather has on the monsters and your fighting.
Like Can zones change permanently, and that'll change like the
I wonder.
that live there, like changing the ecosystem?
I wonder. I mean, there was a thing. I won't really, without getting specific. Like one of the weather events did change an area in the story.
Cool.
Okay.
I imagine once you're through the story stuff, like in the end game repeating stuff, that will be static, maybe.
Yeah,
or
possibly.
the changes will be impermanent, or like switch back and forth or something like that. But like that is an element narratively.
Sure.
Let's see what else. The outfits are great. The weapons are cool. The weak points is very good.
Kneecaps.
On the spider, the legs individually would have weak points. And
nice.
like you get
I saw that
reticle when
earlier
you
with
aim,
Max's video.
At least with the insect glaive, you aim near it and you hit R1
And
or
earlier in
whatever,
this one.
R2, R1, and if you're anywhere kind of generally near the weak point, it'll give it to you.
Generous.
Which is nice, but it feels good. The impacts feel really good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Like,
Okay.
I can't remember if this was a complaint from early footage that it felt a little like the impacts were like gone, or like it didn't feel quite as like squishy or like visceral.
Yeah.
That if that was ever a complaint, or
That
maybe
definitely
I'm
was a complaint
misremembering,
from
but,
some of the fan base.
That's not a problem anymore. Like
Cool.
it felt
Okay,
very
cool.
good. It
Cool.
felt really good.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have any other?
So basically echoing the same stuff that like Max said, at least when it comes to that, as far as like weapons feeling good, like not as, I guess, whatever they're feeling like, they feel weighty now. They feel good to play as and utilize versus, I guess, how they were before. Because I think in the first beta and probably other hands-on previous events, like you were saying, the weapons didn't feel too good in certain ways. So I'm glad that they, Capcom has addressed that. All right.
Questions about Monster Hunter Wilds? Character creator was great. Everything looked good.
Cool.
One of those games where it's just so obviously great. It's just like just waiting. I'm just waiting.
That's my thing. I'm here to bring you the good news about Monster Hunter Wilds. Yeah. Anyway, Monster Hunter Wilds is gonna be sick, and it comes out in not too long.
Yeah, we ain't got much longer to wait.
Excited.
The hunts are going to be going down.
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
Oh, yeah.
Just we're going to be a Monster Hunter channel for like 3 straight months.
Yeah, fully.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Gear up for that. Stick around if you aren't already signed up. Subscribe to this YouTube channel.
All right, so they're ending that. So yeah, very cool stuff. Awesome stuff from both Easy Allies and Maximilian Dood. Shouts out to both of them for having their videos up here for the final preview. So basically just both kind of echoing some of the same things about positivity about the game, overall positives for the game, not really any gripes, or maybe just like one gripe I know Max had. His gripe was the early hunts of very dark environments and just hunting dark areas. But it seems like the gameplay is much more polished and improved upon. Performance is better. A lot of other stuff is better too, and just how they went into details about how the weapons feel, that's better, and how just the gameplay feels. And they try to not do story spoilers, other than like, the story is front heavy, I guess, but breezy too. And it's basically about the early parts of getting you through the tutorial stuff, which is understandable. I mean, that's expected. It was the same with World. World was like a bit of a slog, and because there's a lot of tutorial stuff, like for the first, I think, hour to 3 hours, something like that, teaching you different things about the game. So I'm still hopeful that maybe the campaign does open up a bit more and is a more story narrative driven campaign this time around, versus just doing the old and true or standard like storytelling elements of the previous games. Because I want this to be a bigger game, be a big experience, and have more fun with it. And it seems like it is a bigger game. Definitely a next gen Monster Hunter game overall. I just hope the story is longer. We spend more time in it before we get to end game. And longer than World, longer than Rise, and just, man, I cannot wait to play this on February 28th and play with you guys in the community. We have fun together, we hunt together, and just kick some butt and just have a blast with it, and just, help each other out, figure out strategies, things like that, and figure out some cool builds too, especially now that we can wield like 2 weapons at a time. It's gonna be so glorious. Well, that's it for this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'm glad I got these thoughts from both Easy Allies and Maximilian Dood, and reassures me as far as like Monster Hunter Wilds being a really great game. It's most likely gonna be my personal game of the year. I've been talking about that for a while now. And if you enjoyed this video, please would appreciate a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.